Your future is shaped by daily decisions, not luck, connections, or circumstances, because what you repeatedly choose becomes the structure of your life. Every day you are voting for a future version of yourself through small actions that seem insignificant in the moment. The food you eat, the thoughts you entertain, the work you postpone, and the discipline you avoid are all quietly directing your path. Life doesn't suddenly change, it slowly aligns with the habits you tolerate. Luck is often blamed or praised, but luck only amplifies preparation. When opportunity appears, it rewards those who are already ready, not those who are hopeful. Daily decisions prepare the ground long before the opportunity arrives. When skill, mindset, and discipline are consistently developed, what looks like luck is simply alignment meeting timing. Connections matter, but they do not override character, competence, or consistency. The strongest relationships are built through reliability and value, not chance encounters. Every day you decide whether to become someone worth connecting to. People open doors for those who show up prepared, dependable, and capable, and those qualities are built in private long before they are recognized publicly. Circumstances influence your starting point, but they do not dictate your destination. Two people can face the same conditions and end up in completely different places because of how they respond daily. One person reacts emotionally, while the other responds strategically. The difference is not the situation, but the choices made under pressure. Daily decisions compound whether you acknowledge them or not. Skipping effort today doesn't feel costly, but repeated avoidance creates a pattern of weakness. Small acts of discipline, when done consistently, accumulate into strength, clarity, and confidence. You are never standing still. You are either compounding progress or compounding regret. Most people wait for motivation before acting, but motivation is unreliable. Decisions made in advance remove the need for motivation. When you decide who you are and how you operate, your behavior becomes predictable and powerful. Structure replaces emotion, and progress becomes automatic rather than accidental. Your environment reflects your decisions. The people you tolerate, the standards you accept, and the boundaries you fail to enforce are all outcomes of daily choices. Over time, your environment begins to shape you in return, reinforcing the identity you've been building unconsciously. Intentional decisions allow you to design an environment that supports growth rather than sabotage. Time exposes decision-making patterns. A single choice means little, but repetition reveals direction. What you repeatedly choose to focus on expands, and what you repeatedly ignore deteriorates. This is why awareness is critical, because unconscious decisions still carry consequences. Responsibility is empowering because it returns control to you. When you accept that daily decisions shape outcomes, excuses lose their power. Blame fades, clarity increases, and action becomes the priority. Ownership transforms frustration into strategy. Every day presents a quiet fork in the road between comfort and growth. One path feels easier now, the other feels harder now, but they lead to very different destinations. The future is built in these unnoticed moments where discipline is chosen over convenience and intention over impulse. 60 minutes of focused, intentional work outperforms long hours of distraction, because clarity multiplies effort while distraction dilutes it. When attention is concentrated on a single objective, progress becomes measurable and momentum builds quickly. Distraction, on the other hand, fractures thinking and turns time into noise, leaving activity without advancement. Focused work creates depth, and depth produces results that scattered effort never can. 1 hour of deep concentration allows the mind to solve complex problems, develop high-value skills, and create meaningful output. Distraction keeps the mind skimming the surface, busy but unproductive, exhausted without accomplishment. Intentional work forces prioritization. In a limited window, only what truly matters can survive. This pressure sharpens judgment and eliminates waste. Long distracted hours often feel productive because of movement, but movement without direction is simply delay disguised as effort. Distraction erodes confidence because it produces little to show for time invested. When hours pass without progress, frustration grows and self-trust weakens. Focused effort, even in short bursts, creates visible wins that reinforce belief and encourage consistency. The brain performs best when it knows the task and the boundary. 60 minutes with a clear objective signals urgency and importance, activating problem solving and creativity. Endless hours with no structure invite procrastination, multitasking, and mental fatigue. Focused work compounds faster because it produces quality. One strong action taken with full attention can create leverage that saves hours later. Distraction produces errors, rework, and half-finished tasks that consume more time than they save. Intentional focus also builds discipline. Choosing to eliminate distractions for a set period strengthens self-control. Over time, this trains the mind to obey direction rather than impulse, making productivity a habit instead of a struggle. Long hours of distraction create the illusion of dedication while hiding avoidance. Being busy becomes a way to escape the discomfort of meaningful work. Focus removes that escape by demanding presence and accountability. When attention is protected, learning accelerates. Concepts are understood faster, skills are acquired deeper, and execution improves. Distraction slows learning, forcing repetition and review because nothing fully lands. Success favors those who can control their attention more than those who can endure long hours. Time is not the advantage, focus is. The ability to concentrate intensely for short, intentional periods separates progress from stagnation. Protecting a daily growth hour builds skills, value, and long-term leverage because consistency transforms effort into mastery. When time is intentionally reserved for growth, improvement becomes inevitable rather than optional. This protected hour creates a reliable space where progress happens regardless of mood, circumstances, or external demands. Skills are developed through repetition and focused practice, not occasional bursts of inspiration. A daily growth hour ensures steady exposure to learning and execution, allowing knowledge to deepen and competence to sharpen. Over time, what once required effort becomes instinctive, and that mastery separates amateurs from professionals. Value increases as skills compound. The marketplace rewards those who can solve problems efficiently and deliver results consistently. By investing daily in learning and refinement, your ability to contribute meaningfully expands. As your value rises, so do your opportunities, influence, and negotiating power. Protecting this hour signals respect for your future. It establishes a standard that your growth is not negotiable. When boundaries are enforced around learning and development, distractions lose authority and priorities become clear. This discipline trains you to lead yourself before attempting to lead outcomes. Leverage is created when effort produces results beyond the time invested. Skills acquired during focused growth sessions allow you to achieve more with less strain later. What takes hours today can take minutes tomorrow once competence is built, freeing time and energy for higher level thinking. A daily growth hour also strengthens decision-making. Exposure to new ideas, frameworks, and perspectives improves judgment and reduces emotional reactions. With better thinking comes better choices, and better choices multiply long-term outcomes. Consistency builds confidence. Knowing that you invest in yourself daily eliminates doubt and hesitation. Confidence does not come from affirmation but from evidence, and the evidence is created during those protected hours of disciplined effort. This time becomes a competitive advantage because most people surrender it. While others react to distractions and obligations, you are compounding quietly. Over months and years, this quiet discipline produces visible separation in skill, clarity, and results. Protecting a growth hour also develops patience. Progress is measured over time rather than instantly, teaching you to trust process over urgency. This patience prevents impulsive decisions that sacrifice long-term gain for short-term comfort. Long-term leverage is built when growth becomes automatic. The systems, habits, and skills formed during daily investment continue to produce results even when effort fluctuates. This is how sustainable success is created, not through intensity, but through protected consistency. Consistent discipline during that hour forges identity, confidence, and self-leadership. Consistent discipline during that hour forges identity, confidence, and self-leadership because repeated behavior becomes self-definition. What you do daily shapes how you see yourself, and how you see yourself dictates how you act. When you show up consistently for that hour, you are no longer trying to be disciplined. You are becoming someone who is disciplined. Identity is not formed by intentions or affirmations, but by evidence. Each time you honor your commitment, you reinforce the belief that you are reliable and capable. Over time, this internal proof reshapes your self-image, replacing doubt with certainty and inconsistency with trust in your own word. Confidence grows as a byproduct of kept promises. When you follow through daily, you eliminate the internal conflict that comes from avoidance and procrastination. Confidence is not loud or performative. It is quiet assurance built through action repeated without external validation. Discipline removes dependence on motivation. Motivation fluctuates, but discipline operates regardless of emotion. By committing to that hour even when energy is low, you train yourself to act from principle rather than feeling. This shift is the foundation of personal authority. Self-leadership begins when you stop negotiating with discomfort. Discipline teaches you to give direction and obey it. Instead of being ruled by impulses, moods, or distractions, you become the decision maker who sets standards and follows them consistently. That daily hour becomes a mirror reflecting who you truly are. When excuses disappear, responsibility increases, and clarity replaces confusion. You begin to trust your ability to execute, and that trust influences every other area of life. Consistency also sharpens focus. When discipline is habitual, mental energy is no longer wasted on deciding whether to act. Action becomes automatic, allowing deeper engagement and higher quality effort within that hour. Through discipline, resilience is built. Showing up repeatedly despite resistance strengthens mental endurance. Challenges become less intimidating because you have proven your capacity to persist beyond comfort. Identity solidifies through repetition. Over time, discipline no longer feels forced, it feels aligned. You begin to operate with standards instead of emotions, which stabilizes progress and reduces self-sabotage. Self-leadership is ultimately the ability to guide yourself without supervision or pressure. Consistent discipline during that hour creates internal order, aligning actions with values and transforming effort into a reliable system of growth. Small daily actions compound over time into unstoppable momentum and visible success because repetition turns effort into force. A single action may seem insignificant in isolation, but when repeated consistently, it gains power. Progress rarely announces itself early. It accumulates quietly until movement becomes undeniable. Compounding works whether actions are positive or negative. Small disciplined choices build strength, skill, and clarity, while small acts of avoidance build weakness and delay. The direction is determined not by intensity, but by consistency. What you do daily becomes the trajectory you cannot escape. Momentum begins when action removes hesitation. Each completed task lowers resistance to the next one. Over time, starting becomes easier and follow-through becomes natural. This reduction in friction allows progress to accelerate without requiring additional motivation. Visible success often lags behind effort, causing many to quit too early. Early stages feel slow because results are internal before they are external. Skills sharpen, confidence grows, and understanding deepens long before outcomes become obvious to others. Small actions also build credibility with yourself. Each follow-through strengthens self-trust and reduces self-doubt. This internal alignment creates confidence that is grounded in experience rather than hope, making future challenges less intimidating. As momentum grows, opportunities expand. Progress creates visibility, and visibility attracts attention, resources, and support. What started as a private habit begins to influence external conditions, reinforcing the cycle of growth. Compounding creates efficiency. What once required conscious effort becomes automatic through repetition. This frees mental energy for higher-level thinking, strategy, and creativity, further accelerating advancement. Daily action sharpens awareness. Consistent engagement reveals patterns, mistakes, and improvements that sporadic effort never uncovers. Learning becomes continuous, and adjustments are made in real time, preventing stagnation. Momentum reshapes identity. Repeated action transforms behavior into habit, and habit into character. You begin to see yourself as someone who moves forward regardless of circumstances, strengthening resilience and discipline. Over time, these small actions stack into outcomes that appear dramatic from the outside. Success becomes visible not because of sudden breakthroughs, but because consistent movement reaches a point where progress can no longer be ignored. Claiming control of your time shifts you from reacting to life to deliberately creating your future, because time is the medium through which every result is produced. When time is unmanaged, life dictates priorities through interruptions, urgencies, and external demands. Control begins when you decide in advance how your hours will be used rather than allowing circumstances to decide for you. Reaction mode keeps you trapped in urgency. Days become a sequence of responses to messages, problems, and expectations set by others. This constant responsiveness feels productive, but it rarely moves life forward. Progress requires proactive decisions made before pressure arrives. Deliberate control of time creates space for thinking. When moments are intentionally reserved, clarity emerges. Planning, reflection, and strategic action require uninterrupted attention, and without them, effort remains scattered and reactive. Time ownership establishes boundaries. Saying no becomes easier when priorities are clear. Distractions lose power because they are measured against purpose. This shift replaces guilt with confidence and business with effectiveness. When you control time, you control energy. High-value tasks are placed when focus is strongest, and low-value tasks are minimized or eliminated. This alignment increases output without increasing effort, making progress sustainable rather than exhausting. Intentional time use exposes misalignment. Patterns of avoidance, procrastination, and distraction become visible. Awareness creates accountability, and accountability leads to correction and improvement. Creating the future requires long-term thinking. Time control allows investment in activities that don't pay immediately but compound later. Learning, skill building, and planning are protected instead of postponed. Reaction is driven by emotion, creation is driven by intention. When time is claimed, decisions are guided by values rather than impulses. This stabilizes direction and reduces regret. Consistency is easier when time is structured. Habits form naturally when actions occur at the same time daily. This predictability removes friction and increases follow-through. Over time, deliberate time control transforms life into a series of chosen outcomes rather than accidental results. Direction replaces drift, and purpose replaces pressure.